Pay $700,000 for my wedding or get out of my home. My son says it with a straight face. As if the words are ordinary. As if the demand he is making is something any father should accept without blinking. The moment those words leave his mouth, something inside me stiffens, something old, something tired. Something that feels like it finally reaches its breaking point. After years of bending too far, I stand in the doorway of his living room, still holding the door handle behind me, because my body hasn't fully processed what my ears just heard. The house is so quiet that for a moment I think the world stops moving. Even the refrigerator hum seems to fade away, as if the appliances themselves are uncomfortable listening to what my son just told me. He looks at me with a seriousness that shouldn't belong to him, a kind of coldness I never teach him. His arms are crossed, his posture sharp, his expression tense but rehearsed, as if he's been practicing this moment, preparing the words, strengthening the nerve it takes to look your own father in the eyes and tell him he's only useful if his pockets are deep enough. His fiancée sits on a high bar stool at the kitchen island, flipping through a wedding planner binder the size of a college textbook. She doesn't look up. Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe she thinks this conversation is beneath her. Or maybe she's already confident about the outcome. After all, they didn't invite me here for a discussion. They invited me for a demand. The binder in front of her glitters with golden lettering on the Fiven cover, Signature Elite Weddings. The pages inside shine with images of grand halls, chandeliers taller than trees, floral arrangements that must cost more than a family car, and destination resorts with beaches so blue they look unreal. Everything in that binder screams money. More money than I have seen in my entire lifetime of working with my hands, saving every dime I could, stretching every paycheck as far as possible. My son taps the counter lightly, an impatient rhythm, like he's waiting for me to catch up. Dad, you're not reacting. It's simple. I need $700,000. That's what the planner quoted. And it has to be paid within the next 30 days so the venue doesn't go to someone else. I blink slowly. Not because I don't understand, but because I need time to process the audacity, time to steady my heartbeat, time to swallow the sting rising up my throat. 700,000. I repeat, my voice low, steady, but heavy. For one day? His jaw tenses. For the most important day of my life. I nod, because I want to be respectful. I want to hold on to the last pieces of peace inside me before the storm comes. But inside my mind, memories begin playing like an old, silent film. Years of working late nights, walking home in the rain because gas money needed saving, skipping meals so he never had to, spending every ounce of energy making sure he had a chance at a better life. He walks around the counter and stands closer to me. Too close, as if proximity will help his demand make more sense. Dad, you had years to save up. You don't spend on anything. You live simply. You should have enough. He says it casually, without any suspicion of how untrue it is, of how difficult life actually has been for me. He doesn't know the bills I hid from him, the debts I paid quietly, the sacrifices I made in shadow so he could live in the light. His fiancée finally speaks. Her voice is soft, but her words are sharp. We aren't asking you for something unreasonable. Plenty of families invest in their children's weddings. It's tradition in many places. I look at her for a moment. She doesn't look at me, she looks at the binder, at the page showing a ballroom covered in crystal decorations. Her finger traces the edge of the image like she's already imagining herself walking through that glittering scene. My son inhales deeply, as if he's trying to maintain his patience. Dad, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. I need it to be perfect. I refuse to have a cheap wedding. People will judge us. My friends will be watching. Her family will be there. I can't look weak. There it is. The truth beneath the demand. It isn't love. It isn't happiness. It's vanity. It's insecurity. It's a need to impress strangers instead of honoring the man who raised him. I feel something tightening inside my chest. Not anger, at least not yet. It's disappointment first. Then sadness. Then something deeper, something colder. Something that starts forming its own shape. He notices the silence stretching between us, and misinterprets it as stubbornness. Look, Dad, if you can't support me, then maybe you shouldn't be here. I don't need negativity before my wedding. I stare at him, and for the first time in years, I truly see him, not as my son, not as the child I raised, but as the man he has allowed himself to become. I don't know when he changed. I don't know how he learned to look at me like this, like I'm some obstacle, a roadblock, a burden he needs to push aside. He gestures toward the front door with a slight nod. If you're not willing to pay, then you should leave. I don't want this kind of energy in my home. My home. He says it like he built it with his own hands, forgetting the down payment I helped with. Forgetting the nights he borrowed money to stay afloat. Forgetting every step I supported before he could even stand on his own. I place my hands slowly on the counter, steadying myself. I look around the room, the expensive furniture, the spotless counters, the designer gadgets, the flawless surfaces. Everything looks perfect, too perfect, like a life staged for display but empty on the inside. Then I look back at him. I hear you, I say, and I do. I hear every word. I hear every message behind the words. I hear the disrespect, the entitlement, the loss of gratitude. I hear the child I once knew. Fading, I let the silence hang for a long moment. Long enough for him to think he wins. Long enough for him to believe I'm giving in. Long enough for him to think the power is entirely in his hands. But inside me, something shifts. Something sharp. Something decisive. Something filled with a calm that only comes before a storm. Because what I decide next will collapse his entire world. I leave his house without saying anything more. Not because I'm defeated, but because I need space to breathe. The moment the door closes behind me, the cold air outside hits my face, and for the first time in a long time, I feel something sharp and honest inside me finally wake up. I walk down his driveway slowly, each step heavy, each breath thick, but my mind is clearer than it has been in years. His words echo in my head, pay $700,000 or get out of my home. He said it without shaking. He said it without regret. He said it like my presence in his life was optional, replaceable, disposable. I sit in my car for a long moment, hands resting on the steering wheel, staring at the quiet neighborhood he's so proud to belong to. The houses here look identical, bright, polished, perfect. It's the kind of place where people care more about who sees their lawn than who sits around their dinner table. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe he grew into this world so much that he forgot the world he came from. I don't start the engine. Not yet. Instead, I close my eyes and let the memories roll through me, memories of birthdays I made possible, school trips I paid for, late nights he called from college because he was overwhelmed. I remember staying up all night baking for his school fundraisers because he told me he didn't want to disappoint his classmates. I remember standing in the rain to watch his first big job interview because he wanted someone outside for luck. And I remember the pride in his voice the day he told me he got the job that eventually led him to the life he now thinks he'd built alone. And then, for a long moment, I remember the silence from today. The silence after his demand. The silence after he told me to leave. The silence that said more than any words could. When I finally turn the ignition, the engine hums softly and something inside me hardens. Not in anger. In clarity. I spent too many years thinking love means giving until there's nothing left. But giving without boundaries doesn't create gratitude, it creates expectation, entitlement, and entitlement grows into something uglier when it's watered for too long. As I drive home, the city looks different. Streets I've driven for decades feel unfamiliar, as if I'm seeing them through someone else's eyes. Maybe it's because I'm seeing myself differently now. Maybe it's because today, my son didn't just ask for money, he drew a line. A line that forces me to choose who I want to be moving forward. When I reach my home, I sit at my dining table in the quiet. The afternoon light filters through the window, warm and soft, but my mind is anything but calm. I take out a small box from the drawer, a box I haven't opened in years. Inside are old photographs of him as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. His smiles in those photos aren't perfect or polished. They're real, unfiltered, genuine, the kind of smiles that come from gratitude, not arrogance. I trace my thumb over one of the pictures, a simple one of him sitting on my shoulders at a carnival. His hands in the air, his laughter frozen in time. I stare at it so long that my eyes burn. Because in that picture, he isn't the man who asked me for $700,000. He's just my boy. My only son. My pride. My purpose. But life has a way of teaching us that love isn't enough to hold someone in place. People grow. People change. And sometimes, they grow in the wrong direction. The doorbell rings unexpectedly, snapping me out of the memory. I walk slowly to the door, unsure of who it could be. When I open it, I find his fiancée standing there, alone, holding her purse tightly with both hands. She looks nervous, almost shaken, as if she barely holds herself together. She forces a small smile that doesn't meet her eyes. "Can we talk?" She asks. I step aside and let her in. She walks past me, her heels clicking softly against the wooden floor. When she sits down, she lets out a long breath. The kind of breath people take when they've been holding something inside for too long. She looks around. My home, the worn furniture, the framed pictures, the small details that belong to a life lived quietly. Her expression softens a little. "I didn't come here to fight," she says. "I came because I need to tell you something." I sit across from her, waiting. She fiddles with her fingers. "He shouldn't have spoken to you like that." "I know he shouldn't have." Her voice cracks slightly. "But he's been under pressure. My parents expect a certain image. His friends do too. He wants to impress everyone. He wants to look successful." I nod slowly, but inside, something bristles. Impressing strangers is one thing. Disrespecting your own blood is another, she continues. But there's something else. Something he hasn't told you. She swallows hard. He didn't exactly choose that $700,000 package. He committed to it. She avoids my eyes. He already signed a contract. My chest tightens, not from shock, but from confirmation. The puzzle pieces fall into place easily now. "And there's more," she whispers. "He doesn't have the money. Not even close. He's drowning in debt. Credit cards, loans, things he's been hiding." Her eyes fill with guilt. "He thought you would bail him out. Like always. Like always." Those words land heavily. Then she says the part that changes everything. "If he doesn't pay, there will be consequences. Big ones." And just like that, the path in front of me becomes clear. I lean back slowly, absorbing her confession, letting it sink into the spaces left behind by disappointment. Her words don't just reveal the truth, they light the fuse. Because now I know exactly where to strike. Exactly where the weakness is. Exactly how to collapse his entire world, not out of hate, but out of a lesson he desperately needs. And when I stand up to face her, my choice is already made. I look at her quietly for a few moments, letting everything she just told me settle into place. She sits stiffly on the edge of the chair, hands trembling slightly, as if she's afraid I might explode with anger. But I don't. I stay calm, far calmer than she expects. Because for the first time in a long time, the truth finally makes sense that my son didn't ask for $700,000 out of arrogance alone. He asked because he already promised money he never had. He trapped himself long before he tried to trap me. And now he wants me to pull him out of the hole he dug with his own hands. A hole built from pride, fear, and the need to impress people who don't care about him the way I do. I take a slow breath and fold my hands together. Why are you really here? I ask her softly. She flinches slightly. Because I don't want this to explode. I don't want him to ruin his relationship with you. He's stubborn, but he doesn't hate you. He just thinks you'll save him again. Her voice drops lower. He's counting on it. I study her expression, the guilt, the worry, the tension. She isn't here because she supports his decision. She's here because she fears the consequences of it. And that tells me something important. She knows exactly how fragile all of this is. Did he ask you to come talk to me? I ask. She shakes her head quickly. No, he doesn't even know I'm here. If he knew. She hesitates. He'd be furious. That tells me even more. She's not just worried about money. She's worried about him. She's worried about his temper. She's worried about what he becomes when pressure builds. She clasps her hands together. He signed that contract thinking he could handle it. But the truth is, he can't. The penalty fees alone, if he cancels or doesn't pay, are massive. He told me he's fine, but I can see he's drowning. He's losing sleep. He's snapping at everyone. He's terrified of looking weak. I lean forward. So he thought demanding nearly $1 million from me would solve his problem. She looks down. He thought you'd say yes, because you always fix things for him. Their "it" is spoken out loud. The pattern I created. The pattern he now depends on. She wipes the corner of her eye. He isn't a bad person. He's just afraid of falling backward. Afraid of looking like he failed at life. Afraid people will see through the image he tries so hard to maintain. I nod slowly. Fear makes people do foolish things. She lifts her gaze. But what he did to you today, it wasn't right. And I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let it get this far. I stand up and walk to the window, watching the soft afternoon light drift across the yard, the trees swaying gently in the breeze. My home looks peaceful on the outside, but inside me, there's a storm quietly forming, controlled, powerful, purposeful. You're marrying him, I say. So you need to understand something. The kind of man he becomes will affect the life you share. If he keeps running from responsibility, if he keeps hiding his mistakes, if he keeps leaning on others to fix the things he breaks, your future together won't stand. She nods slowly, her breathing unsteady. I know, and that's why I came. Not to defend him, but to warn you. Her honesty surprises me. And it tells me one thing. She wants to avoid disaster, but she also wants me to fix this for him quietly, without him knowing. But I won't. Not this time. This is the moment life draws a line in front of me and asks if I'm going to keep carrying a grown man on my back, or finally let him stand on his own. I turn to her. You said he's drowning. So tell me, does he know you're drowning too? She looks up sharply, startled. I see the truth in her eyes before she speaks. No, she whispers. He doesn't notice. Of course he doesn't. He's too focused on appearing perfect. Too focused on his own panic. Too focused on maintaining an image instead of maintaining relationships. She takes a shaky breath. I love him, but I don't know how long I can keep helping him hide. I thought coming to you would help. It does, I say gently. But not in the way you expect. She frowns. What do you mean? I walk back to the table, sit down, and rest my hands together. My voice stays calm, measured, steady, the way a man speaks when his decision is final. I'm not giving him $700,000. She inhales sharply. I figured. But then what happens now? Now, I say, he learns a lesson he should have learned years ago. Fear flickers through her eyes, not fear of me, but fear of what this means for him. He'll panic, she murmurs. He'll be angry. He'll blame you. I know, I answer. And he'll break before he understands. But some walls must break before sunlight gets in. She looks at me long and hard. So what are you going to do? I lean back, my heartbeat steady, my mind sharp, my spirit surprisingly calm. I'm not going to destroy him, I say softly. I'm going to save him. But not the way he wants. The way he needs. Her brows knit in confusion. How? I look toward the front door, already knowing the next step. Already knowing the plan taking shape inside my mind. By letting his world collapse, I say. So he can finally see what truly matters when the dust settles. She stares at me, speechless, unable to decide whether to fear the plan or trust it. But for the first time, I feel certain. Certain that this is the moment my son finally grows up. Certain that this is the turning point he cannot avoid. Certain that what happens next will change everything. And when she finally stands to leave, her voice is barely above a whisper. Please, don't give up on him. I shake my head slowly. I'm not giving up, I say. I'm stepping back. And sometimes, stepping back is the only way to force someone to learn how to stand. He stares at me like he's seeing a stranger standing in his hallway. His shoulders fall, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, he looks small. Like the boy who used to run into my arms when thunder scared him. But I don't move. I stay still calm, letting the silence hit him harder than any lecture ever could. He tries to speak. His lips open, close, then open again. Nothing comes out. The weight of reality finally sits on his chest, and I can see it sinking in. Not the money, not the house, but the truth that respect, once broken, is not something money can buy back. I walk past him slowly, heading toward the door. He follows behind me a few steps, quiet, nervous, unsure. The same man who demanded $700,000 now can't even ask for a minute of my time. I stop at the doorway and rest my hand on the frame. My heartbeat is steady, peaceful, almost light. Because for the first time in years, I feel like I'm choosing myself. He whispers, "Dad, please don't leave like this." I turn just my head, not my body. "Son," I say softly, "you pushed me out long before I stepped out." He swallows hard, guilt filling the empty corners of the room. I see regret blooming in his eyes, slow but real. But regret doesn't erase harm. Regret is just a reminder of what should have been. Behind me, through the doorway, I hear nothing. Not a cry. Not a scream. Just stillness. The moment a man realizes he wasn't owed anything. Only loved something he took for granted. I walk down the path without looking back, feeling more sure with each step. Sometimes revenge is loud, dramatic, destructive. But not this time. This time, my revenge is simple. I let him feel the silence he created.